and advice. Just a bit of your time would be pretty nice. We are gonna shoot the breeze. The rhythm is steady, and the snacks are on the table ready. Leave your stresses in the hallway. Big Tony's glad you came today. Yeah, that is the way. Just me and you in living room. No hero. Shoot the breeze every single night. Keep it real, so real.
What is going on, everyone? Hope you're doing well this fine Saturday. Welcome to Shoot the Breeze. I'm Big Tony, your host. And hey, before we get into it, y'all do me a favor and go down below and hit that thumbs up, the like button, whatever you want to call it. And if you're not already following this channel, please do hit that follow or subscribe button, whatever you see, and turn on the notification so you know when I come on, which is Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. And I hope you come see me. And remember, Big Tony will speak on it. All right. Okay. Somebody advertising their stuff in the chat there. Okay. Oh, somebody on Twitch advertising the stuff in the chat. I am streaming to Rumble, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick today. So, but I may be reacting to people on any of those platforms. So, just be aware. Anyway, you all hopefully know how Shoot the Breeze works. I have a sampling of articles from around the news world, and they are just catalysts for conversation. So y'all jump in the chat and let's talk about it. Marilyn is already in the chat, and but she's at home, so I get to talk to her directly. So, but y'all can get in the chat and talk to her. So she says y'all get in the chat. She's kind of lonely up in there. Just her, so. All right. So anyway, I guess nothing left to say except let's get into this thing. Up first, we have an opinion editorial, and in some ways I agree with this. In some ways I disagree, but we'll see what you all think. Let's brace ourselves for artificial general intelligence. Now, how is that different from just the AIs we use every day? Well, the AIs we use every day are things such as large language models and etc. They are dedicated so-called artificial intelligence programs that can be taught, can learn based on data input. And they can use what data they have learned on, they've been taught on, to solve various different problems, equations, etc., etc. we use it every day. The general public, we use it every day. You do a search on Google, Google a search, and yeah, my Google Assistant just popped up when I said that. Um, yeah, the Google search is AI powered, and very soon it will only be AI. Now the main search is still basically a web crawler, um, but more and more it is becoming AI powered, and it will eventually be Gemini. The Google AI. It will eventually just be Gemini running the search. Uh, as it is now, you could click AI mode, and Gemini you know, will do the search for you, and aggregate relevant information and etc. All that good stuff. Now, this being a conservative podcast, I have to make mention that Gemini is kind of left leaning. You have to manipulate Gemini. You have to know how to talk to it to get conservative information. Google is a left leaning company, so just as Google's property, YouTube, which I'm streaming to right now, is a left leaning corporation. So how do you get through? You learn how to talk to these things. You learn how to manipulate them into giving you the information that you're looking for without that left leaning. But anyway, artificial general intelligence is an AI, just like Gemini or whatever, um that can teach itself, that can replicate itself, that is basically self-aware. Um, it is, to all for all intents and purposes, alive. Um, it can make its own decisions. It can reason, et cetera, et cetera. Or at least it will when they finally perfect it or get as close to perfect as they can. And then the AI itself will take over and complete the job. Um, but we've all seen this movie. We have all seen this movie. Um, it'd be a really difficult thing to say in this day and age that you haven't seen this movie. There have been so many, and there have been extremely popular ones, such as The Terminator, that you know it would be difficult to say that you don't know anything about it. You know, but you know what the Terminator says. What's his catchphrase? There you go. You know, and you've heard people talk about Skynet, etc. In fact, you've heard me talk about Skynet. you know, and you've heard me talk about how the whole Terminator story began. It began with an AI, a security AI to be exact. That was meant that was meant to be protection, but ended up being our humanity's greatest enemy. So yeah, we've all seen this movie. There's been 1,000 of them, 1,000 different movies. I mean, you go way back, 2001: A Space Odyssey. You know, I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that. Hal, the AI from that movie. You they there have been thousands of movies made over the decades, and TV shows and etc. Um, sh- showing why artificial general intelligence would could possibly be a bad thing, and people such as Elon Musk have been screaming for years that there needs to be some heavy duty regulations regarding artificial intelligence and artificial general intelligence. Most definitely needs to be regulated pretty heavily because it could very easily become our worst nightmare, and bad actors could make it our worst nightmare. Someone could set an artificial general intelligence free into the internet, and that would not be a good thing. Just look at you know, for example, Grok. What happened to Grok right shortly after Grok was introduced? Grok all of a sudden became all kind of racist, didn't it? Yes, it did. That was a big thing. It was a big controversy. And why did it become that way? Because it was less let loose in Twitter, or X, as you know, as it were. Maryland calls it Twix. So, but it was set loose in that environment, and well, it started absorbing information from posts, and it became racist. Right, right, yeah. I mean, again, as I said, we have all seen the movie, and Elon Musk, he's Gen X. I'm Gen X. And so I know that he's seen all those movies. Okay, and he is actually, he's actually working on AI, including artificial general intelligence, while at the same time he is screaming at the governments of the world, not just American government, but governments around the world, to implement regulations uh, around AI and artificial general intelligence because they are so dangerous. And they are. They're very extremely useful. I love AI, because it helps me in my day to day. It helps me with this show, and I love AI, but I'm also wary of AI because again, I've seen all those movies. Plus I have enough intelligence to realize, that it would be very easy to um, to weaponize AI. But yeah, I don't know that we're really headed down necessarily at this point where we're at. I don't know if we're headed down the dystopian path so much, but we could very easily go that direction. Um, One wrong move, and boom, we are headed to Mad Max land, for real. I mean, it's it's so easy for humanity, and you have to, when you're talking about things like that, you have to look in terms of in the entirety of humanity. You can't look at Democrat, Republican. You can't look at whatever race. You can't look at whatever country. You have to look at it in the entirety of the human race. And it is so easy for the human race to just veer just a little bit, and that little bit is enough to put us in like Mad Max, or any one of the myriad Blade Runner. I mean, I mean, any of those different realities, as it were. I mean, they're not real currently, but they can be very easily. 1984. Idiocracy. All of those, we're seeing signs of those. Yeah, and here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing when you yeah, when you mention Soylent Green, it exists. It is an actual real product. um, it actually exists. So and that's scary to me. Um, because Soylent Green is people. I mean, huh? Well, no, Soylent Green. Um, I'm gonna have to show you that movie. It's a really old movie, but I actually think you would probably kind of like it. It's a little strange, but once you get the concept, it takes a few minutes to kind of get the concept. Once you get the concept that's going on, it's actually to me a good movie. But it is dystopian, and because you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it. With giving away the plot and all that. But just suffice it to say, Soylent Green is people. Um, but yeah, I mean, I see signs of 1984 currently right now. I see a lot of idiocracy right now. I see a little bit of the beginnings of Terminator. You know, it's currently going on right now. I mean, we could easily go down any of these directions or a combination of them. With just a slight variation. You know, huh? Oh yeah, yeah. I seriously doubt we're going down the Demolition Man path. Um, it was a good movie, but I seriously doubt we're going down that particular path. We're kind of a long ways from that one. Oh, you actually knew somebody that liked the Soylent products? Oh wow. I agree with that. If somebody actually, uses and likes the Soylent products, especially if there's someone of like Gen X or even I think a lot of the millennials have experienced the Soylent Green movie and etc. I think if you're a part of Gen X or the millennials, I believe you would have an aversion to Soylent products. But maybe someone who's never, like Marilyn, for example, someone who has never heard of Soylent Green, um, maybe might get into the Soylent products, but yeah, I would tend to agree, that a person who is into the Soylent products has problems. I could not bring myself, and I know that they don't just have the green. They've got a whole bunch of different ones and everything. But just because of that movie, I couldn't mess with any of the Soylent products. It's kind of a mental thing. Um, so yeah, but yeah, I discovered quite a number of years ago. It was more than a decade ago. That the Soylent was real, and hang on. Okay, I don't. Okay, why is that? Oh yeah, that's confusing. Anyway, I got an email from somebody that there was nothing in it. It could be lost in somewhere in the ether somewhere. Right, right. Oh, well, it's more than just a comedy. It's a commentary, on society and the direction that it is headed. And I see a lot of idiocracy in reality nowadays. But I don't think it's going to go completely down the idiocracy path. I don't think it's going to completely 100% head down the 1984 path, or any single path, as we stand. Now things could change and we could head straight for idiocracy, and that would really suck, especially for people like me. I have very, very little tolerance for idiocy and stupidity. So whether it's willful, idiocy and stupidity, or real, I have very little tolerance. So that would be a hellscape for people like myself. But I see it every day. I actually know college graduates, people who have degrees that can't read, for real. Code 46, that sounds really familiar. I mean, hang on, I'm gonna try to see if I can get some images from Code 46 to jog my memory. That sounds really familiar. I know you said it's kind of a unknown one, but I like a lot of those off the beaten path unknown movies. I watched quite a number of them from 2003. Okay, set in Shanghai, of course. Why wouldn't it be? Hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I could see a little bit of that going on nowadays too. Oh yeah, a lot of espionage involved in things like that. There would be a lot of as it were, forgery and etc. Going on if the world ended up going that direction, and it might. It might. I mean, it starts with the digital IDs. That's why I've been opposed to the whole cashless society, digital ID narrative. And it starts and yes, it starts with the social credit scores, all that good stuff. Hmm. Let me try to think. Um, Well, that's actually going on right now in China. Okay, they literally control everything through that what's it called, WeChat. Um, they literally control everything. They control your utilities. They control your money. They control everything. That's and see, that's why the left, they talk about, you'll live in the pods, you will eat the bugs, you will own nothing, and you will be happy. Why? Because they will control everything. And if you're not happy, when they tell you you are happy, then you can very easily lose what little they give you. And that's going on right now in China. People who make mistakes and whatnot, they lose standing on their social credit score, and many of them end up losing their jobs and can't get another job because they have too low a social credit score. They can't get an apartment because they have too low a social credit score. So they have to live outdoors, and they have to work on their social credit score, you know, etc. So yeah, I mean it is literally going on, in China right now. You can look at China and see, what kind of world that would be, and most Chinese are actually unhappy with that situation, but they believe that there's nothing they can do about it. One day they'll realize that they can rise up. Some of them might die, but you know the greater good is what matters. But I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think I played some movies like that. Is wanting to know of other movies that hasn't already been named, that actually offer a realistic potential dystopian type scenario. And but there, yeah, there have been so many of them. I believe that I did actually play a number of them when I was doing the movie thing, um, on Insomniac Theater. Mhm. Well, that's technically not social credit score. Um, that uh, you can actually be fired for a whole lot of things. Here, most recently, or actually very recently, you were fired because you refused to get a shot. You know, you're fired because you refused to wear a mask. Which, by the way, it has been proven that wearing those masks can make you sick. So, you know, well, that's been going on for a long time, their band history, and I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth with you, and if that's your goal, and you can go somewhere else because I'm not going to continue to do it. Okay, you may go over and goad James on Empty Pockets into the whole banner back and forth, you know, but it's not going to go on here. Okay, I'm sorry. Hate to spoil your fun. Well, see, we weren't talking about anti-Semitism. We were talking about dystopianism. Okay, you're not contributing when you're trying to lead it down a certain path. See, we all know what you're all about. We've all heard, you know, all of your opinions, which all lead back to one thing, and you're already trying to head that direction. So you're not trying to contribute to the show. Mm. Well, there aren't any dystopian measures being enacted in the United States currently. You know, if you believe that anything is dystopian in the United States, well then, I can tell you where you can go where you actually would experience some dystopianism currently right now, and it's not in the United States. So you 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 can actually experience those things if that is, you know because you seem, to believe that it's going on right now in the United States. Well, it's not. Um, Now it we are kind of headed towards some dystopian scenarios, some dystopian futures. But right now we're kind of at a crossroads. We're at well, not it's not even really a crossroads. It's a point of divergence. We have many choices, and the humanity as a whole, and I'm not even talking about different races, I'm not talking about different countries, I'm not talking about um, different religions, I'm not talking about any of that. Humanity as a whole, okay, is going to go down these different paths. Now, it could be, there could be a path that we go down that's like a combination of two or three different possibilities, you know, but and I seriously doubt that we're going to go down any one sole quote dystopian possibility. Well, lawsuits are lawsuits are lawsuits. You can sue somebody over anything. You know, I'm sorry, but that is truly the case. And if FEMA does that, they're actually breaking the law. So there's that. and and I have not seen a single deportation done because they criticized anyone on social media. So, these are imaginary things in your head, and we're not going to talk about, your imaginary anti-Semitism. I'm sorry. I mean, well, so here you are doing exactly what I said you were going to do. Okay, that's taken care of. All right. Anybody else want to talk? is literally bombing my entire chat, not giving anybody else, room to speak edgewise, and doing exactly what I said he was going to do. You know, they deny it, deny it, deny it, but then they do it. They do exactly, the thing that I know they're going to do, that I tell them that they're going to do, because I've had experience with this person and I know exactly what band history is going to do when he enters a chat. So, yeah, well, he's been here and he's been on Empty Pockets podcast, and I've had experience with band history, and so I knew exactly what band history was planning to do, and that's why I literally told him that I knew what he's planning to do, and this guy, band history, is an admitted Nazi, is a National Socialist, so you know he along with a few others were over on Empty Pockets podcast and admitted to being National Socialists, which that everybody knows that's the Nazis, you know, and uh, and that's all he ever talks about is the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. Anti-Semitism will get you deported, and anti-Semitism will get you put in prison, and no, none of that is the case. So, but yeah, we are headed to the direction, because see, those dystopian movies that we were discussing, all of the best movies, whether they be blockbusters or B movies, all of the best movies out there, they're based in our culture. They're based in some reality, some things that are actually going on that point to we're headed down this path or we're headed down that path, or we could easily be, if we make the wrong turn or the wrong step, we could easily be going down that path. That's why it feels so real. It feels like it's a possibility, and that's what makes movies um interesting to us. Was that you? Oh, okay. Some cat BS on TikTok. Yeah. Yeah, I was searching Schrodinger's cat earlier, and well, I guess the algorithm everywhere is now feeding me cat stuff. I'm going to be seeing cats everywhere. Uh, well, I actually have uh, kind of been proposing for a long time that New York, Los Angeles, become giant prisons, walled up all around with armed guards and guard turrets all around. You know, many will enter, none will leave. you know, you know. Um, but I have actually kind of been advocating for um, New York, LA, and a few other cities around the country to become large prisons, because they're already dystopian hells, or dystopian hellscapes, I should say. Already, New York City and LA and many cities all across the country are going in that direction. We see the fentanyl and other drug zombies, out on the streets, right in public, and we see the the downtown, business districts and shopping districts and etc. in many cities becoming homeless camps, with people, uh, cardboard and other type of shacks as well as tents and etc. All up and down, right where people would normally be going for business and shopping, etc. They're already becoming dystopian hellscapes, and so why not just go ahead and wall them up, and we just use them for giant prisons. I mean, and I mean the entirety, all five boroughs, etc. I mean, and well, I mean, of course, we would leave, their government intact, because their government would choose to be there. you know. Right, right. They do. Um, they do that flash mobbing thing, and well, the police don't bother because when they arrest them, they just get turned loose an hour later, and nothing is ever done. That's why you have so many, you know, people that end up killing someone, and really. But anyway, but yeah, they as soon as they get arrested, they're an hour later they're walking on the street. Nothing is ever done. That's why we have people who end up killing people, and they've got 40, 50, 60, 70 open cases against them, and yet they're still walking the streets. I mean, the left does not believe in enforcing the law. You know, at least not until they have their communist utopia. You know, which is not a utopia, at least not for any people with uh, a desire for freedom, a little common sense, etc. And not not banned history. Commented that Trump campaigned on deporting the anti Semites in 2024. No, he didn't. He actually did not campaign on that. So, this is what I'm talking about. Their information is not correct, but they will bombard you with it so hard, and ignore when you show them proof that it is not, their information is not correct. They would just ignore it and continue to bombard you with uh, their nonsense, as Marilyn said. So anyway, and like I believe, oh, that's not banned history. Really? That's what I said. Really? But anyway, so but yeah, that's why the cops don't even bother to stop them or any of that. It's because it does no good. They just freaking they just freaking walk free an hour later and go right back to doing what they were doing. But I do need to do this right quick. I hope you will bear with me. Um, and we hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you're in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you've felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today, everyone's heard of crypto by now, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I have Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. You choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar backed stable coins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. Um, there's no complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay. Um, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like myself directly. So do this right now. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description and download your Rumble wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet and tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. So that's wallet.rumble.com. One more time, wallet.rumble.com. The link is in the description below, or you can hit that QR code on the screen, however you like to do it. But get your Rumble wallet and send me a tip. I thank y'all so much for allowing me to do that. Uh, I had to take a shekel break, as one of my regulars calls it, but it's actually just Rumble telling me it's time to pay the bills. So yeah, Running Man. Yeah, yeah, that's another dystopian classic. That it feels like it's a situation that could possibly happen. Given the things that are going on right now and etc. It could possibly happen, and that's the thing. All of these things are possibilities. They are a possible path that we could go down, but I really don't think that we're going to go down any one. It's going to be a combination of two or three, or it could be a combination of all the possibilities. Really, you know. But yeah, no need to do all that. Put yourself through all that. I mean, I can simply just hit my files and let's see. What do I have here in the dystopian? There is one, or actually a couple. uh, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but Zone 414. That would be a situation after we have gained uh, uh, interstellar capabilities, where where it is actually, yeah, minority report. Yeah, yeah. It has a good bit of elements of actual reality in it, and that's what makes a good movie. Is is when you include some little elements from actual real life into it. Modern, current, right now life into it, even if it's set way into the future, or even just a few years into the future, or whatever. You try to include some elements of what people experience every day into it, so that it feels familiar to people. And it's like, oh wow, we could actually end up like this. Yeah, you have to include that familiarity, for a movie to be believable. And a lot of the dystopian movies, a lot of the future movies in general. Yeah, but Zone 414 would be a situation after, say, after we have achieved interstellar travel, in a manner that it wouldn't take multiple generations to get from star to star. Um, such as maybe like creating a warp bubble, or using wormholes or whatever. And these are things that scientists are actually looking into currently right now. I mean, well, yeah, the crazies, that could be a possible future, because we are already looking at biological warfare currently going on. COVID-19, etc. All these viruses are easy to weaponize. You know, they're easy to modify, they're easy to weaponize, and they're easy to distribute. So yeah, we could end up going down that path, a biological warfare path. So the crazies there comes in, to a realm of possibilities. A lot of these, if you look at them, a lot of these various different scenarios are actually possible, and that's the whole reason they became movies, is because they are possible. Now likely, you know, I think it's actually a very good possibility that we could go down the biological warfare pathway, and end up in a dystopian reality due to that. Truthfully and honestly, I mean, we could very easily, with the current state of things, current way things are going. I mean, we could easily head down that path. I always will generally go with the earlier version, most times, but I think really either version um will work. you know um because in both cases, there are elements of current reality, you know baked in, that those elements of familiarity, um things that are most of those types of movies, are generally, if you look at them, they're a commentary on current society, at the time when they're made, and a lot of them hold up, for sometimes decades. They the commentary still holds up. You know, a movie may have came out in the early to mid '70s, and and still the commentary still holds up in the 2020s. You know, right? I mean, yeah, stealth isn't necessarily a sci-fi. It's yeah, it is most definitely more modern than 2001: Space Odyssey. I was naming that as one of the early AI based movies. But anyway, but yeah, I was using that as an early example of the early AI based movies, because HAL was an early AI, and you see where that went. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, is you know for decades, you know people have been making television and movies, you know that were literally commentaries on current society at that time, and they've really, in some ways, actually predicted the future. Because you can look at movies from decades ago and see things from those movies in reality now. And I'm not even talking about, like, sci-fi inventions and things like that. I'm talking about uh, the current state of society. Right, right. Well, I mean, it's just the logical direction for technology to go. I mean, really, the further we advance technology, you don't really have to talk about it, because you know, uh, it's actually, just out there. I mean, we've been working towards, artificial intelligence since, oh, uh, shoot, since Da Vinci. I mean, for real. Actually, if you really want to get down to the nitty gritty, we have been working towards artificial intelligence since Da Vinci. I mean, that seems to, for some reason, be. I think it's that God complex. To be able to create a self-aware intelligence the way God did. We breathe life into it, breathing our knowledge, breathing our ability, and etc. Everything that is human into this intelligence, and etc. And it comes to life, and begins to improve itself and make its own decisions, and you know etc., etc. And I really think as a species, humans have a major God complex. They for some reason want to be the creator and not the created. It's we often get so caught up in what we can do. We very rarely think about should we do it. You know, sure we can do this thing. Sure we can create this, but should we? Realistically, should we actually do it? Many times, when we do get caught up in what we can do and ignore should we do it, it usually turns out bad in some way. You know, I mean, go messing around with nature, with God's creation, in the wrong way, and it's going to be inevitable, that as you're messing around with, God's creation and modifying it and changing it and etc. Um, one way or another, that creation is going to harm you. You know, I mean, that's just part of the thing. But yeah, Marilyn just reminded me there is something that I wanted to do today. Um, Many of y'all, my regulars and etc., come watch this show regularly. Have seen it loaded in the chat, and well, loaded sent me some stuff to make a diabetic friendly pizza, and so I did. I made it. I said that uh, if I received the stuff um, that I would actually make it and I would review it on camera. I'm going to do so. There is 2 slices of the pizza that I made, and this was handmade. It's not like from a machine or anything. It comes from a kit. Bring me the box. Um, okay. You can see there's a little bit of sauce on it, but you see that it is King Arthur. You see that keto wheat pizza. It's just the crust mix. It's not any of the other, the toppings, any of that stuff. This is just the crust mix, and you have to add a few things to it. You have to put your own yeast, water, olive oil. Oh, it comes with the yeast. Okay, she corrected me. It comes with the yeast. Um, but you have to put your own water, olive oil, etc., and add your own toppings and sauce, all that. But this is just the crust. Um, so we made it up. We made 2 pizzas. You know, pretty much identical. But there was enough there to make 2 pizzas. We made 2 pizzas by hand, and so on camera, you see it holds up pretty good. There's a little bit of droop there. You see, the bottom. The ingredients are actually pretty heavy. There's black olives and pepperoni and onions and um, banana peppers, and a whole bunch of stuff on there. The underside, the undercarriage looks pretty good. Now these have been sitting for a little bit because we actually ate right a little bit before I came on, and so it has been sitting a little bit. So we're gonna um right off my initial and the same reaction I had earlier. My initial reaction to this crust, this crust, I love all the ingredients, so that's neither here nor there. But the crust, I'm gonna break off just a piece of crust here, and it's flaky. It's nice, but this crust, I don't really, I don't really taste a whole lot of difference from a good quality regular crust. You know, you know, even though this is a wheat flour based crust, and you look at the here's another piece, and I'm going to turn it around. You look at the crust there. You don't really see visually a difference between the here. That is a good idea, Elf. Thank you. Um, Here we go. Now, as I was saying, there's the crust there. You don't see a whole lot of difference from any other pizza, whether it be homemade or whether it be a kit or whatever. Um, I don't see a whole lot of difference when like I said, when I tear off just a piece of crust, and I don't notice any difference. It's a very good high quality crust. It cooked up well. It was easy to put together, you know, and I don't know. I think I'll continue using this mix, in the future. And it's low carb, it's keto, so it's better for me being diabetic. You all know by now that I'm diabetic, so this is a better option for me, and I think it tastes great. You know, I would recommend it to non-diabetic people. You know, truthfully and honestly, I would recommend definitely recommend this King Richard. What was it? Mm, King Arthur uh, Baking Company. 100% employee owned, established in 1790. 1 gram of net carbs per serving. So it makes it was intended. The kit is actually intended. It says right there that it's intended to make two pizza crusts, and that's what we did. It has. I need to put my glasses on. Trying to read this stuff. Yes, I wear glasses. I'm supposed to wear them all the time. I don't. The headset interferes with my glasses. You see. Um, but it says it has 8 grams total carbs, which is still that's low. That's you know, and has 7 grams of dietary fiber, which that's how they come out to the 1 gram of net carbs. Now, net carbs don't generally work for diabetics, but 8 total grams is pretty low. and I can eat 8 total grams and not see much of a difference in my blood glucose levels. Um, so this is, I've not tried this before, and I've not really messed with a whole lot of the keto stuff in general. I just do low carb, high protein diet, and we cook everything. We don't eat the highly processed foods with all the things that you can't pronounce. I'm looking at the ingredients on the back of this, and I am not seeing anything that I cannot pronounce. You know, and it's all normal stuff that you would expect to put into your own, like if you were making it homemade. You know, unbleached flour, wheat flour, salt, yeast. Um, there is one preservative in there, two preservatives in there, but they're not the chemical preservatives, so they're not the big things that are going to kill people. Um, there's some whey protein in there, psyllium fiber. Um, I actually take psyllium fiber on a daily basis, so it's a good thing. You know, so yeah, I would definitely, unless you are unless you have to have gluten free. This does have gluten in it. So unless you have to be gluten free, I would definitely recommend. If you are gluten free, then you're not going to be doing too much bread anyway. So, but if you're a celiac or something of that nature where you can't have the gluten, um, but yeah, I would definitely recommend this to even normal people. People not even worried about the low carbs or anything like that, because it is a good tasting crust. Add your favorite sauce, your favorite toppings, whatever you want on there. I mean, I've got some pepperoni and some ham and onions and tomatoes and banana peppers and olives and all kinds of stuff on there. Lots and lots of cheese. You could put your favorite cheese on there, whatever the case may be, and have yourself an awesome pizza. And I do want to shout out Loaded, and thank you so much for sending me this kit. And Loaded actually sent me some extra stuff. Um, Sent me the two pans to cook them on, and I used those pans. I didn't put them away and use my old pans. I actually used the pans. Um, Um, I can't tell you my A1C. On the third, I'm supposed to go get my A1C done, but my current blood sugar right now is 121, which is it's considered a wee bit high, but I've only just recently got my numbers into a reasonable level. My numbers have been running high. I mean, really high, for a long time. I've been taking all different kinds of medicines, and they've not been working. Even though I do the diet and exercise and all that good stuff, it's just not been working. Well, finally, we found a combination of medications that has brought my sugars down, and 120. I- I'll take it. I'll accept it. Um, Yeah, yeah, that is true. There are a lot of people that believe that they are sensitive to gluten, and it's actually their body's reaction to glyphosate, and or other chemicals that are in their foods. That is actually a common thing. Well, I'm a pizza freak anyway, so mm, I love me some pizza. But I'm gonna have you put that up for right now until I get done with the show, because I feel it's rude to sit and eat in front of people. So I mean, y'all may not care, especially since I was doing a review of it. But I do feel as though I'm being rude sitting eating in front of people. So uh, anyway, where were we? Oh, but yeah, you are exactly right, Elf. A lot of people that they think they believe they're sensitive to gluten are actually not sensitive to gluten. They're reacting to chemicals that are in their foods, that they don't even know are there, such as glyphosate. Which is a extremely powerful um, um, pesticide that they use on the crops, and it actually gets into the whatever the crop is, wheat or corn or whatever the case may be. It gets into there, and it is passed along to you through eating it and etc. And it does a lot of damage. Um, it, yeah. Well, I get so aggravated. I will address that, Elf. I get so aggravated. You see my hair? Okay, it's not gray. My mustache and beard are freaking gray. It irritates the crap out of me. Okay, so so I found some stuff that will eliminate the gray, at least for a time, and I'm going to keep stock in it so that, when it starts graying up, I just touch it up and, I'll be good to go, because it irritates the crap out of me for, my hair to be nice and full and dark and I got gray down here, I hate it. Yeah. So, I mean, that's really exactly, why I did it. It's because my facial hair is unnaturally gray. It shouldn't be. My dad, full head of dark hair. If he doesn't grow facial hair. If he does grow facial hair, it comes out gray. I don't know why. He doesn't know why. It's crazy. So, but yeah, that was the whole purpose, is to get rid of the gray. So yeah, it irritates me to no end looking at myself. I have to constantly, when I'm on camera, I have to constantly be looking at myself, in the monitor here, and and in fact, actually on two monitors, one here and one over there, and I have to look at all that gray, and my hair is not gray. So it irritates me to no end, and I feel that it makes me look older. Right. It pisses me off, to no end. Right, right. Yeah, a lot of people do. You know, they end up just shaving it on off and staying clean shaven because, gray, Some people don't mind the grays on their face, even if they've got a full head of dark hair. Some people don't mind. But me, it doesn't look right. I don't like it. It irritates me. But you'll notice that I did right there. I did actually trim it a good deal. Um, because it was getting really unruly and going all kinds of different directions and everything. So I trimmed it and and I got rid of all the gray. So yeah. Um, so when you're used to seeing it gray and then you see it the same color as my hair, it does look really dark. If the gray aliens invaded his beard. Yeah, they kidnapped him one too many times. That light they used to lift you up, the beam, you know, it it it, it made it go gray. There was supposedly one guy that supposedly was abducted, and his entire head of hair went white. Yeah, it's a story from a long time ago. I think back in the 50s or 60s. um, I believe, he was out in the country and was abducted, and when they deposited him back on Earth, um, his hair was completely white. You know, I don't know all the details. It's been a long time since I heard that story. You know, but yeah, it's that beam that they use, man. I'm telling you, it's that beam. Hey, I might have been, abducted by aliens at some point. That's why I can't grow a beard my normal hair color. So, but yeah, yeah, I probably should have went on and addressed it right after I did it, but I've been you know I've been on the air numerous times since I did it and haven't addressed it. So yeah, okay. Um, Thank you for mentioning it. I needed to go ahead and address that, so that it wouldn't be too much of a distraction for people. Especially my regulars that have seen me for a good bit of time with the gray. You know, and as she said, I have to stay vigilant with it and just keep it touched up and not allow the grays to come through. Yeah. The funny thing is you see the color. I and to me, looking on here, even my hair up here looks black, on the screen. But it's not. It's a dark brown. And my mustache and beard are a dark brown. But when I put the stuff on there, it turns black like my shirt. I mean, I'm like, "Oh my god, it's gonna turn my hair black." And then when I wash it out, it's brown. So it's crazy. Yeah, well, no one our age does. She says she doesn't like when she gets grays either. So but no one our age does like getting grays because we're not old. My dad is old. And he's really not all that much older than me, truthfully, honestly. So he was just a kid, when I was born. So uh, he's still growing up himself. But compared to me, he's old. So mm, you know, um, but I don't consider myself to be old, and most people in my generation, we don't consider ourselves old. So when we start, showing the signs of age, uh, we tend to try to fight it, as much as we can. Um, so, but anyway, any freaking way. Oh, we have gotten way off of our subject and everything. Well, I think, I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on. I think that's what I'm going to do. Moving right along. Let's see. Oh, here's something that's actually kind of funny, in my opinion. Y'all may think it's funny, you may not. I don't know. Um, well, come on. There you go. Here we go. CBS. This is from Newsbusters. CBS claims that canceling Stephen Colbert has caused them to earn, to profit $55 million. Now, realize that Stephen Colbert costed the company. Right here, you can see it. The show was losing them $40 million a year. They were losing $40 million a year. I mean, he wasn't even funny. None of the stuff that he did on that show was funny because he was obsessed with Donald Trump. I mean, he was totally 100% Trump deranged. He had TDS, and that has actually been recognized by the mental health establishment as an actual mental health disorder. And in fact, they classify it as a severe mental health disorder. But he had TDS, and he showed it majorly on that show. Nothing he said on there was funny. I've watched it a few times just to see, you know, and but Thursday, CBS came out with more specifics that argued that their new arrangement with Byron Allen has netted them $55 million. $55 million. Yeah. CBS says, we're proud to partner with Byron Allen on a new business and programming model for late night that proactively addresses the uh, network day part that was cost prohibited to continue uh, with this quote time buy model. We have shifted an hour that was losing roughly $40 million annually to a $15 million profit, a $55 million swing. In other words, Allen is paying CBS, not the other way around. So he's buying time to produce his show. So they are actually making money. You know, Deadline's Nelly Andreeva summarizes Allen is paying $15 million a year as a time buy, meaning that he is leasing the 11:30 p.m. hour from CBS and selling its ad inventory himself in search of profit. That is a flat fee for the network, not contingent on the show's performance, which would impact Allen's ad rates. If he performs poorly, the ad rates will not be quite as lucrative. See, The Late Show itself was produced by CBS Studios. So the company shouldered 100% of the production costs, um, amid an ad revenue decline across all entertainment program on linear, with late nights drop among the steepest, said to be 65% over the past 6 years. I mean, yeah, sure, it's possible that they're just buffering the numbers and overstating the 55 million swing. Um, because, I mean, let's face it, Colbert occupied a time slot that doesn't exist in isolation. You know, um, there is a real argument that the traditional model just no longer works. So you have to come up with something new. Um, Before they announced the cancellation of the Late Show, that was, you know, widely understood, but the desire to make everything about Trump was it contributed to both the demise of late night and the demise of common sense. So, well, it goes from the network CBS completely creating and producing a show to someone else creating and producing the show and then buying the time slot from CBS. You know, so it is a new business model on the behalf of CBS because most of their shows are produced by CBS itself. Um, right, right. But Colbert and Kimmel, they were very, very highly paid individuals, and I truthfully don't understand why. Because when Jimmy Kimmel split with Adam Carolla, all of a sudden he was no longer funny. It seemed that he depended on Adam Carolla for the funny. After he split with Adam Carolla, it just he was no longer funny. And Stephen Colbert, he knows how to be funny. You know, he has been in the past. He's been funny before. He knows how to do it. He knows what he should be doing. And that is not TDS. That's not Trump derangement syndrome. That's not, waxing political 100% of the time. You know, You can't be funny and do that. I mean, it's one thing to make fun of politicians. Comedians have been doing that for as long as comedy has been a thing. You know, I mean, but when you make it your whole shtick, as they say, when you make it what your entirety of what you're all about, it no longer is funny. You know, it becomes unfunny. It becomes the exact opposite of funny. People tend to look elsewhere for their funny. Look at some of the most popular comedians out there: Ricky Gervais, um, Dave Chappelle. You know, huh? I mean, well, I'm talking about modern right now. Comedians. These are the ones that just don't care. They're the ones that, I mean, obviously they're the ones that have screw you money. Where they you try to cancel them, they just look at you and go screw you. You know, Yeah. What do you think you're trying to do? You know? I mean, they've made names for themselves, and they have made their money. And your attempts to cancel them are laughable. So they say whatever they want to say, and that's the way comedy should be. There should be nothing sacred in comedy. You should be able to joke about literally anything. You know, I mean, for Christ's sakes, even in his apology to the alphabet people, he was joking about the alphabet people. I mean, Dave Chappelle. They tried to cancel him, and he wants to make all the money he could possibly make. So he wants to keep his audience. And so he did an apology to the alphabet people, and even during his apology to the alphabet people, he was making fun of the alphabet people. you know and he even said, hey, I'd be willing to sit down and talk with you all, but it's going to be on my terms, not yours. you know because he has screw you money. Your attempts to cancel him, he's just going to look at it and laugh. Go, screw you. you know I'll do what I want. I'll say what I want. A comedy should be, no holds barred, no sacred cows. You know, it should be. Um, I mean, unless you just get so far into the weeds with your comedy, into the really disgusting, and you know everybody in the world agrees that it is absolutely unacceptable. You should be able to make fun of literally anything and anyone, in my opinion. And people need to grow thicker skins. Really, we need to get back to that. There was a time when we all had a thick skin and we didn't get offended so easily, and it we could take you know uh, criticism. We could take someone joking about us, etc. I mean, I grew up with a game called the Dozens. And it was called the Dozens because most people could only handle about a dozen. So it was when we would sit around and we would throw back and forth, literal criticism jokes about your mama, you know, all kinds of jokes about your, the flaws in your appearance, all kinds of, different things. and eventually it would get to the point, it would start feel personal, and we would start be actually, attacking, but we still had to be funny with it. We're actually attacking, each other verbally, and eventually somebody would bow out, because they could, generally it was somewhere right around a dozen or so, you know, because it would generally escalate quickly. And you had to, and we'd walk away, we shake hands and walk away, and everything was good. Nobody got into fights over the dozens. Nobody, stayed mad over the dozens. It was just something we did. We had a thick skin. We could take it, and we went on with our lives. you know, and we the country needs to get back to that. I mean, instead of literally being offended by literally everything. And I know I just used that word twice in the same sentence. Mm. Instead of getting offended by everything, I mean, because what happens when you're offended? Honestly, truthfully, answer me in the chat. What happens when you're offended? And what? Exactly. Nothing happens. You know, you can be offended. It is your choice to be offended. You can choose whether to be offended or not. I didn't make you offended. You chose to be offended. Not my problem. You can be offended all you want. Nothing is going to happen. And the rest of the world doesn't really care if you're offended. When the truth is told. Now there may be other people who are offended by the same thing as but you all chose to be offended. I mean, and other than that, what, you know, have you been physically hurt? Are you bleeding? Are you dying? You know, when you get offended? No? Well then, put on your big boy or girl britches and move on. You know, I mean, oh, I didn't like what he said. So what? You know, if you don't like a TV show, change the channel. If you don't like something you see on the internet, just scroll away from it. You know, I mean, for real, there is nothing making you continue to watch something that you don't like. There is nothing making you to not scroll when you see something on the internet that you don't like. You know, who said? Well, just because on my own, I don't necessarily choose to watch them doesn't mean I don't like it. It just means that I don't like it enough to choose to watch it. Now, if you want to watch it and you want me to watch it with you, then I do. So, but yeah, and it's that simple. It's literally just exactly that. You make the choice. If if you like something, you want to watch it, watch it. If you don't like it, you don't want to watch it, then don't. You have that free will. You have that freedom of choice. You can pick up your you can pick up your remote and change the channel or turn it off. You know, it is really just that simple. Heck, most of us are sitting like this all the time anyway. We turn something on our TV and we still are sitting like this. And hey, I got an app on my phone that controls that TV. You know, if something comes on there that I don't like, I can change the channel right from my phone, or I can turn it off right from my phone, or I can mute it or unmute it right from my phone. Don't even have to put this sucker down. It is really that easy. I mean, if if someone says something that you don't like, well, you don't have to continue listening to or talking to them. You know, that is, again, your choice. I mean, well, that is true, and it is really hard to do that with one of these days. She's talking about back in the old days with the old corded phones, and when you got mad at somebody when you're talking to them, you get mad, you slam that receiver down, and they would hear it on the other end. When you slam that down, they knew they'd been hung up on. You know, I mean, now what do you get? You're oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and they hear a beep, and it's done. What? How do you make them hear that they have been hung up on? Well, you have to take your phone, and before you hang up, slam it on the counter a few times. I mean, and then hit the button and go beep. That just kind of removes that whole uh, uh, satisfaction of slamming it down, and they heard it. You know, I mean, but the whole point is, though, even when you took that phone and you slammed it down, that was you making a choice. You didn't want to hear what they had to say anymore because it was offending you in some way. Therefore, you got mad. You slammed it down. You were done. You know, you let them know that, you didn't want to hear it anymore and you ended the conversation. That's simple. It is literally that simple. The King of the Hill seasons are woke garbage. I don't know. I don't know. Um, I looked at, some of the projections of what they were gonna be, and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't even sound like something that I would be into. So I really don't know about the press the number pad to make the tones. Yeah, I guess, but it's just not the same though. You get that certain satisfaction from that physical grand. I think we need to have like a little thing that connects to your phone, and you just leave your phone on your hip or in your pocket or whatever. And when somebody calls, you pick up an actual corded receiver, and it has an actual hook. They when you're ready to slam the phone down, you slam it down on the hook, and they know they've been hung up on. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, but it's still, that example. It was, outlandish. It was, it was funny. All that. but it slam for lack of a better term, it slams home the point that you have that choice. You always you have that choice to just stop listening, stop turning on that TV show that offends you so much. Stop watching that particular comedian, that offends you so much. Whatever, it is your choice. You are the one that chooses to be offended. Now, if you take a step back, and really objectively look at what it is that the comedian said, you would probably actually think it's funny yourself. You know, a lot of, the funny thing is, I have literally heard black people telling black jokes that are more racist than the black jokes that white people tell. And I like tried not to laugh, and they literally tell me, "Go ahead, laugh. It's funny." You know, it's funny. It is objectively funny. You know, if you can't laugh at yourself, you know, there is something wrong with you. You know, right? It is exactly from the whole PC culture, the politically correct culture. It's I hate the whole politically correct thing because it's who said it's correct. I mean, a lot of the things that they call politically correct, such as people of color. I hate that phrase. You don't know why I hate that phrase? Because it's just a rewording of colored people, which back in the day was used as an insult. They were colored people. Colored people have to use that water fountain, not this one. Colored people have to go to the back door. You know, I mean, really? You're just simply going to switch the words around. Oh, that's better. That's better. Most black people prefer to be called black people. they don't. They don't like the whole African American thing because they're just Americans. Most of them have never even seen Africa, except on TV or in the movies. You know, I mean, well, I mean, person of color, people of color, even the derogatory phrase from way back in the day, colored people, that describes a whole lot of people in this country. There are a lot of people of color that are not black people. There are Asians. There are Latinos. Hispanic descent. You know, whether that be Mexican or actual Spanish or what have you. You know, you have the Spanish descent people. You know, you have all the varieties of Middle Eastern. They come in a whole bunch of different colors. You know, I mean, you have a very wide variety of African. You talk about African American. No, no, Elon Musk is an African American. He is literally from Africa. You know, I mean, he is an African American. You know, the Afrikaners from South Africa, they are African Americans, and most of them are white. You know, I mean, they are actual African Americans. They are from Africa, and they are, working to the Afrikaners that were recently brought from Africa because of the genocides against the Afrikaners. Um, they are working towards trying to become citizens. They want to assimilate. They want to become Americans. You know, as opposed to all these Somalis and Afghanis and Pakistanis and Yemenis and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They don't want to assimilate. know, and they're simply Somalians and Pakistanis and Afghanis. They're not Somali Americans because they don't want to assimilate. They don't want to become Americans. And they are from their individual countries. You know, so the so-called African Americans, other than the actual African Americans, you know, they're just Americans. I'm of Irish descent. Am I an Irish American? No, I'm an American because I was born here and I have never been to Ireland. They tell me that as I've followed my traced my lineage back, they tell me that there's a castle still in existence that bears my family's name. I don't know. I've never been there. I've never met any of my surname family in Ireland at all ever. I am an American, you know, period. And that's the same with the vast majority of uh, black people, Asian people, etc. You know, here in America, they're born here, have never seen the country that their ancestors came from. They know nothing of the culture, you know, of the country where their ancestors came from. They are Americans. So I mean, and that and that should, that should be a unifier. And uh, the idea that we are Americans, born here to people who were born here. You know, maybe we're our family is recently uh, come here through the legal channels. You know, maybe we're second generation, third generation, whatever. Um, so fairly new. We still were born here, and our parents were born here. We're Americans. You know, that should be a unifier. There should be, pride in that. Should be pride in being an American. You know, because see, even as bad as people say the United States is currently in this day and age, it's still way better than any other country in the world. And that is evidenced in the fact everybody wants to come here. And I'm not talking about these people they're coming for all the freebies. I'm talking about the people that came here legally. While all that was going on, there were people that were using the actual legal channels and coming to America because they wanted to be Americans. And why did they want to be Americans? Because the United States is the greatest, the freest, the largest economy. You know, we you know we are the greatest country in the world. We have the strongest military, the largest military. Our military was literally designed to do battle, to commit to warfare on 5 different fronts at the same time. What is that? Chasing someone up the road. Um, huh? Okay, I'm gonna have to end this. I got to take care of a situation. There's literally a kid outside being chased by dogs, and yeah, that sound you're hearing is that kid screaming. So I'm gonna have to end this. I will see y'all next time. I thank you for coming and watching.